Well, I'll just get started with a little introductory remarks. My name is Grace Fear, and I'm the events director for Historic Milwaukee. Thank you all so much for joining. We are a nonprofit, and we focus on educating the public about architecture and history in Milwaukee, and we typically do that through in-person tours and events like Doors Open and Spaces and Traces. And like many cultural institutions and businesses right now, we are working remotely. We're trying to find new ways to engage our audience. So this is our first public Zoom call. So thank you for joining us on this. And thanks again to John Gurda, as our wonderful historian who's joining us to read Gertie the Duck. And then Selena is on our call as well. And she is an intern with Historic Milwaukee and studies accounting at Marquette University. She'll be reading the Spanish translation. So many of you are already members of Historic Milwaukee and you've already donated. Thank you so much for that support. That's really what's helping us get through these challenging times. If you haven't already and you're interested in supporting us, you can join as a member, you can donate online. And right now we're actually doing a poster sale in celebration of Milwaukee Day, which is today, April 14th, 414. So you can buy Milwaukee neighborhood posters for $4.14 today and tomorrow. And that's all on our website, historicmilwaukee.org. We also partnered this year with the Milwaukee Day Organizers. So Milwaukee Day hasn't always been a thing. It's relatively new to the city. And the people who started that typically gather all of the organization's information who are doing events and other special programming around Milwaukee Day. And this year they decided really to focus on causes and other groups that are raising funds and awareness around folks who are struggling with the COVID crisis. So that's a really great resource as well. That's milwaukeeday.com. So consider visiting that website anytime really, but this week is the opportunity to raise awareness about causes and other places that are doing great stuff to support our community right now. So I'm going to share my screen with you all so that you can see our Gertie the Duck PowerPoint, and Mr. Gurda then will kick it off with us to give the book reading. I can pull this up. And something that I would recommend you do is, once I get this up here, you can either minimize us so that you don't see any speakers on the right, or you can just go small active speaker video, and that way you should just see John or Selena or whoever is speaking at that time. So feel free to play around with that. If you roll your cursor over that the box of faces, you should be able to do that. So I'll be driving the PowerPoint, and John and Selena will tell me if I need to advance slides, and I'm not.
Okay, thank you, Grace. As Grace said, my name is John Gurda, and I work as a Milwaukee historian. And what that means is that I learn the stories of Milwaukee's past, and I tell them to people who live in Milwaukee's present. It's pretty much that simple. And one of those stories is about a duck who lived way back in 1945. And the book about her was published way back in 1959. So this is an old story, and it's a true story. What I'm going to do is read the book by Giorgiotti and Romano, and then I'm going to show you some pictures of the real Gertie the Duck and tell you kind of her story in real life in downtown Milwaukee. So if we go to the first page, Grace. Gertie the Duck was looking for a place to build her nest. She looked at a farm. There were not many people. Gertie did not like the farm. You can see that all they have there is some ducks and chickens and pigs. So she looked at a lake. There were only a few people in boats on the lake. Gertie did not like the lake. Gertie looked at a swamp. There were no people there. She did not like the swamp. Gertie the Duck liked to be near people. She liked fat people, thin people, tall people, short people. She liked young people and old people. Gertie the Duck liked people. Where could she build her nest? Gertie flew about looking for a place. She came to a big city. She saw many people in the city. But where could she build her nest? On top of a tall building? No. Could she build her nest on a sign? No. Gertie looked everywhere. Where could she build her nest? She saw a river. Ducks like the water. Gertie flew down to the river. She saw a bridge. There were many people on the bridge. In the water near the bridge, Gertie saw some large posts. Gertie flew down to the posts. The posts were old. The wood was soft. Gertie picked bits of soft wood from the top of a large post. Soon she had a good place for a nest. She sat in it. It was just right. Just above Gertie's nest was the bridge. Soon a little boy and his mother went by. The little boy saw Gertie. Look, he said to his mother, see the duck down there? Other people stopped to look. Fat people, thin people, tall people, short people, old people, young people. Firemen, policemen, bus drivers, truck drivers, they all watched Gertie. The men who worked on the bridge watched Gertie too. They watched from their little house. Their job was to open and close the bridge when ships went through. Gertie was happy. She had found a nest. The nest was near water. The nest was near many people, and Gertie liked people. See, she's smiling. One day, Gertie flew away from the nest to find food. People saw 3 eggs in the nest. They were very happy. One day, some men came to work on the bridge. They came to take out old posts. The men saw Gertie in her nest. They saw the eggs. Now there were 6 eggs. The men liked Gertie. They did not take out the old posts. Everyone watched Gertie. Sailors watched her as boats went under the bridge. People stopped their cars and watched Gertie. She sat on her eggs to keep them warm. She sat on them for days and days. The only time she went away was to get some food. She came back soon. One day, out came a baby duck. He was all black. The people named him Black Bill. Soon the other ducklings came out of the eggs too. Black Bill did not like to stay in the nest. He liked to jump on his mother's back. He liked to walk on the posts. He wanted people to see him. Black Bill was a show-off. One day, Black Bill walked too far. Splash, he fell into the water far below the nest. The man who took care of the bridge ran to help. He took a long pole with a net at the end. He picked up Black Bill in the net and put him back in the nest. But soon the other ducklings began to fall in the water. They could not get back in the nest by themselves. People were afraid they would get lost. Where could they put Gertie and her ducklings so they would be safe? At last, the people found a good place for Gertie and her family. They moved the ducks to the park. On moving day, everyone was there. The mayor, the chief of police, the fire chief, the town band was there too. Many other people were there. They cheered as Gertie and her family went by on a big red fire engine. And you can see the sign says, "Welcome Gertie and her family." There was a pond in the park. Soon Gertie and her ducklings were swimming about in the pond. Every day people came to watch. Gertie and her family were happy. The people were happy. The pond was a fine home for Gertie, the duck who liked people. And that's the story of Gertie. And here's the real Gertie. This is an actual duck back in 1945. And especially for you grown-ups out there, what you have to remember is that when Gertie laid her eggs in the piling downtown, this is after 15 years of depression and war. So you had the stock market crash and then unemployment of around 40%. And then the depression ends and World War II starts, and people are concerned about the future of their country and their loved ones as well. So 15 years is a long time for things to be abnormal. And think about that in today's terms. You know, we're going on weeks. So our fathers and forefathers, our mothers and grandmothers, they were putting up with a whole lot more insecurity than we have. And that's good to remember in 2020. So here's Gertie on a downtown bridge piling. And what happened was one of the bridge tenders noticed her, obviously, and alerted a sports writer from the Milwaukee Journal named Gordon McQuarrie. And McQuarrie came down and he named her Gertie. And he's the one who would file these sort of breathless stories about Gertie's progress. Let's do the next slide, Grace. she laid eggs on that piling. There were at one time as many as 9, and 6 survived, and they were all hatched out. So here she is on this downtown piling, was just a pretty perfect spot for a nest. Okay, next slide. And they began to emerge. So here she is with 2 of them. In time, there were 6, including the one in the book called Black Bill, who was the most adventurous. And it's a true story. The bridge tenders did get a long net and fish Bill out of the water so he wouldn't float downstream and be lost forever. Okay, next slide. And think of this in 1945. Think of how starved people were for good news. And down there in the lower part of the picture, circled, is Gertie and her eggs. This is the Wisconsin Avenue Bridge, which is the main street in Milwaukee. So thousands of people would come by every single day. And here you have them lined up, probably on a Sunday. Look at the fancy hats, back at a time when all the men wore hats. So you'd have thousands lined up on the bridge over the course of a day to watch a duck. So it was certainly a time when people were just starved for good news, and Gertie filled the bill. And if you look at this piling, and the job of the piling was to keep boats from crashing into the bridge or crashing into the side of the channel there. So what happened was the ducks were unable to survive there in the way that ducks should out in the wild. So they kept on falling in, and then they rescued the ducks. And what they did was, at first, it's not in the book, at first they took Gertie and her ducks and put them in the window of Gimbles department store, which is just to the left of this picture. And that was just temporary. They knew that the ducks had to have a permanent home in the wild, or at least not in the wild, but in natural surroundings. So here's the last slide. Here is Gertie. What they did was they had a procession and took her down to Juneau Park, right on Milwaukee's lakefront. And here she is with her 5 surviving ducks. And what they did was they put a little splash of yellow paint on Gertie's back so that people could tell which one was Gertie and separate her from all the others, because ducks look pretty much alike. It didn't take very long for that paint to wash off. So Gertie and her ducklings, as they grew, kind of faded into the flock. And if you look at Juneau Park today, there are still ducks down there. There are still mallard ducks down there. And it's entirely possible that some of those ducks are the great grand ducks of Gertie the Duck back in 1945. So that's the story of Gertie. And here is Selena Fregoso to tell the story of Tolita, which is the same story, but it's in Spanish.
That's great. And I'm just going to interrupt for one moment. If anyone wants to ask questions via chat, we can do that after Selena reads the Spanish version. So you just use your little chat box, but we'll wait until we hear the next version. So thank you, John. I'll hand it over to you, Selena. And please tell me if I am missing your cues.
All right, perfect. Tolita la patita busca un lugar para construir su nido. Primero busca en una granja. No hay mucha gente ahí. A Tolita no le gusta la granja. Busca en un lago. Hay solo unas cuantas personas en botes en el lago. A Tolita no le gusta el lago. Busca en un pantano. No hay gente ahí. No le gusta el pantano. A Tolita le gusta estar cerca de la gente. Le gustan las personas gordas, las personas delgadas, las personas altas, las personas bajas. Le gusta la gente joven y la gente vieja. A Tolita la patita le gusta la gente. ¿Dónde puede ella construir su nido? Tolita vuela de aquí y de ahí buscando un lugar. Llega a una gran ciudad. Ve mucha gente en la ciudad. Pero, ¿dónde puede ella construir su nido? ¿En el techo de un edificio alto? No. ¿Puede ella construir su nido en un anuncio? No. Tolita busca en todas partes. ¿Dónde puede ella construir su nido? Ve un río. A los patos les gusta el agua. Tolita vuela hacia el río. Ve un puente. Hay mucha gente en el puente. En el agua, cerca del puente, Tolita ve unos postes grandes. Tolita vuela hacia los postes. Los postes son viejos. La madera es suave. Tolita arranca trozos de madera suave de la punta de un poste grande. Pronto tiene un buen lugar para hacer su nido. Se echa en él. Está perfecto. Justamente sobre el nido de Tolita está el puente. Pronto pasan por ahí un niñito y su mamá. El niñito ve a Tulita. Mira, le dice a su mamá, ve esa pata que está allá. Otras personas se detienen a ver. Personas gordas, personas delgadas, personas altas, personas bajas, personas viejas, personas jóvenes. Bomberos, policías, choferes de omnibus, choferes de camiones, todos miran a Tulita. Los hombres que trabajan en el puente también miran a Tulita. La miran desde su caseta. Tulita está feliz. Ha encontrado un nido. El nido está cerca del agua. Está cerca de mucha gente y a Tulita le gusta la gente. Un día, Tulita vuela del nido para buscar comida. La gente ve 3 huevos en el nido. La gente está muy feliz. Un día, unos hombres vienen a trabajar en el puente. Vienen a quitar los postes viejos. Los hombres ven a Tulita en su nido. También ven los huevos. Ahora hay 6 huevos. A los hombres les gusta Tulita. Por eso no quitan los postes viejos. Todos miran a Tulita. Los marineros la miran al pasar los barcos bajo el puente. La gente detiene sus autos y mira a Tulita. Ella está echada sobre los huevos para que estén calientitos. Está echada sobre ellos por días y días. Solo se aleja cuando va a buscar comida. Regresa pronto. Un día aparece un patito. Es completamente negro. La gente lo llama el negrito Memo. Pronto salen también de los huevos los otros patitos. Al negrito Memo no le gusta quedarse en el nido. Le gusta saltar al espinazo de su madre. Le gusta andar sobre los postes. Quiere que la gente lo vea. El negrito Memo es un payasito. Un día, el negrito Memo se aleja demasiado. ¡Paf! Cae al agua y muy abajo del nido. El hombre que cuida el puente corre a ayudarlo. Coge un palo largo con una red en la punta. Recoge al negrito Memo en la red y lo pone otra vez en el nido. Pero pronto los patitos también caen al agua. No pueden regresar al nido por sí solos. La gente se preocupa por ellos. ¿Dónde pueden poner a Tulita y sus patitos para que estén seguros? Al fin, la gente encuentra un buen lugar para Tulita y su familia. Cambian a los patos al parque. El día de la mudanza, todos están presentes. El alcalde, el jefe de la policía, el jefe de los bomberos. También está ahí la banda de música. Ahí están muchas otras personas. Gritan vivas al ver pasar a Tulita y su familia en un gran carro rojo de bomberos. Hay un estanque en el parque. Pronto, Tulita y sus patitos están nadando en el estanque. Todos los días la gente viene a verlos. Tulita y su familia están felices. La gente está feliz. El estanque es un excelente hogar para Tulita, la patita a quien le gusta la gente.
All right. Thank you.
And that was the Spanish version of Gertie the Duck.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Okay,
I like Negro Memo.
El negrito Memo. That was my favorite. When I read that, I was like, oh, wow. I love this.
Excellent. If anybody has questions for John or Selena, you can feel free to chat. I think we'll try not to unmute for now since there's so many of us on the call. It might get a little complicated, but I think that was really fun to hear in English and Spanish, so thanks to you both. There is one note on here from Luann that says, my granddaughter Peyton is at her house reading along. She has an autographed copy of this book that we got from my dear childhood friend. Her uncle was Romano, one of the co-authors, and my mom was 12 years old when Gertie came. Oh. We grew up hearing her telling the story of Gertie from her 12-year-old memories.
Oh, cool.
And I did, when I posted this to one of the event pages, we had a comment from a couple of people. One person said their grandfather was the bridge tender, and then another person's grandfather was the person who actually rescued one of Gertie's ducks. So that is a true story. And somebody asked if the book is available anywhere. We do have a few copies at our shop, and it's out of print, so we purchased them on eBay, and if you just look online, there's wildly different prices that they're available for. So we are able to sell them for $30 to $40. And I see somebody Lindsay has her copy up, which is great. How old is the statue of the duck? John, do you know when the current statue Was
It's about maybe 10 years. It was an architectural firm decided that should be commemorated. So you've got Gertie on the main span and a couple of her ducklings on the side spans. So they live on in bronze, which I think is entirely fitting.
Great. Well, happy 414 Day, everyone. Please stay safe and stay well. And we hope to see you in person soon when we can.
And support historic Milwaukee.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Selena.
Yeah, of course. Thank
My
you.
pleasure.
Bye, everyone.
So long.
Bye.